What is up? What is up? We are back with another rewind. Let me move my mic a little bit there. Back with another rewind. I know we missed a little while there. We missed a little while. Holidays got busy for everybody. A little bit of traveling and stuff. But how you guys doing? We've all been watching pretty much all of the COD going on, so we're pretty up to date. I have a few clips. We're only gonna do clips from this weekend, like most recent weekend, which is the weekend after Minor One. Um, but we have kept up to date. We've watched everything, and we have done something new that I'm hope you guys are excited for, which is a prediction sheet. And we're keeping track of everybody's predictions. We're keeping track of who gets the most map count correct, who gets the most teams like quote unquote money line picks correct. You know what I mean? But we'll go over all of that today, and then we'll go over this weekend's matches, recent weekend of matches, and then yeah, kind of go on from there. We're gonna try to be a little more consistent with the rewind, like a little complicated with people traveling and not being around. Yeah, how you guys doing? How's your holiday break going, or was it going?
Much needed break. It was great. It was great.
No complaints. Did a little bit of traveling. Went down to Texas. Came back. Need to go back down to Texas mid-March. So, yes, I'll
Yeah,
be around still.
yeah. Well, you kind of want to stay out of Texas right now. Well, southern Texas. They're getting hit pretty hard by a winter storm. I mean, I even heard Florida is getting snow right now, like northern Florida. So that's the first time in years. So it's getting
It's
weird down
nuts.
here.
It's been weird. It's getting silly.
Yeah, it's getting a little wacky, if I will. But yeah, spring should be interesting. Expecting some more tornadoes down here and a little bit of thunderstorm and all that. So should be fun. But yeah, let's jump right into it. I know we missed some time, so I know we want to get back into this. Starting off with the prediction sheet. This is something we started at the beginning of the year, so it goes from the first weekend of matches. Believe it or not, was after December 1st. It's crazy to me, but got first weekend, and then we go all the way until last weekend's match. So we'll go over it. Kind of. Well, I mean, we can graze over some series. It's hard to remember that far back, especially since once we do a rewind every week, it'll be going through here. Uh, if you so what we have set up is we have it formatted to be if say I guess the map count correctly, it will light up in green and the team will light up in green. But if I don't guess the map count correctly and it's lit up on green on a team, that means that I still pick the correct team to win. The map count's wrong though. If that makes it's hard, it's kind of hard to explain. Casey, you want to explain it a little better? I mean, I feel like that's
Yeah,
right.
It's close. So the team highlighting green just makes it easy to tell who won the match. And then in the prediction column, if your prediction is highlighted in green, that means you got it, the correct prediction. That doesn't mean you necessarily like even if it's not green, that doesn't mean you didn't pick the right team. You just didn't get the right count. So I went through, and that's why I went through and added those things on the not things, but the records on the side after each weekend because that's a more clear indication on how many picks you got right versus you got wrong. So if you look at it, you went 7-5 in the first weekend, and you guessed four perfect map counts. So you picked three teams that to win, but didn't get their map counts. So it adds up to seven there. So
Okay.
the green is just to see how perfect you are in your predictions.
Okay. The only question I have is say the second weekend. The second weekend, every single team on the left won besides Heretics, right? But
Yeah.
but if you look, say at Just looking at this one right here. Brent's Saturday. Breach won, but he guessed 2-3. So that
Yep.
one would not count towards his record, correct?
That one would not. He would no. He didn't win that one. So that's
Taking
one of his
shots
7
over here.
losses.
Well, I see it.
That was just
Calling
an
stuff
example.
out here. No, it's
I
fine.
mean, same thing with mine on Royal Ravens and FaZe. So we can also take suggestions if you guys think there's anything better we can do. This makes sense to me. It just will take a little bit of skimming. That's kind of why I'm leaving it up for a longer amount of time. And we're starting off with it. So if people need to pause or want to pause and kind of keep track, like Casey said, the records are on the side. So it keeps track of what everybody is guessing. You just have to go through because the green highlights the teams that won the match. And that's not necessarily saying that you guessed it correct.
Yeah. So it'll be easier for like this one we're looking at just one bunch of weekend games, but when you have this much information all at once, then it's kind of hard to really get through. So that's why it's easy just to look on the sides just to see checkpoints of like, oh, hey, they're at this mark through 2 weekends or something like that, so.
Yeah. So let's go through the first weekend. It looks like I got Optic. I expected Optic to beat Breach, but I actually want to talk about Breach because I don't have any tabs pulled up for them, but I want to talk about Breach a little bit. They look great. Breach looks like a top 4 team right now, and I wish I was kidding.
It's all purge.
I know it's coming. All purge. God.
The purge propaganda, it could be spread after this weekend. I mean, the guy just popped off. But
Matt
maybe
MVP, I'm pretty sure this weekend.
I love Mark's odds there. 100-0. There no chance Breach wins.
yeah, no. I expected them to Optic to handle them, but I remember right, that one went to a map 5 and Breach.
Yep. You are correct. Yep.
Oh, it has outcome over here. Yeah, okay. So anyway, again, on the topic of Breach, they've looked great. Cammy is doing his thing again. It's kind of looking like we got Cold War Cammy back. And then Snoopy as well. Yeah, exactly. I want to talk about Snoopy as well. That guy, we've always known he's had the talent. I mean, the guy's mechanically talented enough. But it looks like he's in a system right now that works really well with Snoopy. And you could credit that to Purge, you can credit it to Cammy, you can credit it to Wake. It could be any of them, but it's working right now. And Breach looks like a really, really, really strong contender. I'm excited to see what they do. They have 2 more matches before the major, if I'm not wrong. I think they play 2 more this weekend.
I think you're right.
Yeah, and I can't remember who it's against, but I'm pretty sure it's a pretty good team. Anyway, I hope they do well. I've always been a Breach kind of, I don't know, Breach protagonist, I guess. I don't know. I like the organization. I think they're doing a good thing. COD and coming in, creating a team, putting the money up, doing all the good stuff. So I'm excited to see that they're doing well right now. You guys have any thoughts on Breach or certain players on Breach right now?
I mean, I hate to say it, but Purge is balling out right now. Snoopy, obviously, I would say is the leader on that team, just with his performance. But there's a couple other surprise teams that we could touch on a little bit. There's a couple other teams that I was not expecting them to do that well this year.
Well, it's like Breach. The turnaround from last year is incredible. They were by far the worst team in the league, and they start out hot like this. It's pretty cool to see. So
Yeah,
can't count anyone out.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's
Except for the Falcons.
I mean,
Sorry.
yeah, there it is. Besides, I think we're excluding the Falcons here, and honestly, the Gentlemates. I haven't seen much, but besides those 2 teams, even Cloud9, they have the firepower to get a map. They look good on a map, and whether or not they look good the rest of the series, that's a different question. But it seems like the Gentlemates and the Falcons, I can't see them even if they go up by a good amount in a map. I just always have that thought in my head where it's like they're gonna lose this. It's same thing with Gentlemates. But to end on the breach here, I think they've made great strides. Like you said, it's a complete 180 from last year. Last year, obviously the worst in the league, set a record for loss streaks. It was bad last year, but they look good this year, and I'm excited to watch them play. Like I said, Cammy looks like he returned and ready to play again. Snoopy Purge is the storyline going after this weekend right now. That's a fun team. We'll jump into the next series here, which is Falcons versus Ravens. We're not going to spend too much time on the series itself, but I want to talk about teams, and then we'll kind of graze over teams that we've already got. What about the Ravens, guys? They were kind of like one of those 10 through 8 teams last year. It's like, oh, if they win this one map, they can make it to champs and that kind of thing. But they obviously, Clay retires, Fellow gets dropped, and they pick up Slasher and Vivid with Gwen and Tej. Yeah. And I think that was a great move. Slasher looks like he's playing like CWL Slasher again. Tej is he's a vet now. Tej is a vet, believe it or not. But that guy, unbelievable search player. And even in the respawns, he's had his fair share of maps too. So I'm excited to see what they do. Obviously, Gwen is running worlds right now. Gwen's nasty. What do you guys think about Ravens?
Yeah, they were actually the other surprise team, obviously, because no one knew how they would work together coming into the season because there was so much changes. But like you said, Slasher has been a very good surprise. The only question is Vivid, but Vivid has had his good maps too. It's not like he's playing bad in all the matches. So it's really, if it comes down to it, if Vivid plays well, they're probably going to win the series that they're on. So they're a good team.
And before you go, Casey, I kind of want to add on to that as well. I agree with that. I think Vivid is almost quite certainly their X factor, but I also want to point out when Vivid has a bad map, Slasher has a bad map. It almost correlates together perfectly. So I just wanted to point that.
I was just gonna say, I think the Ravens, they got off to a too fast of a start. I don't think they're going to be able to keep this up. And actually, especially after, I know we'll graze past it here in a little bit, but especially after the minor outcome, getting all the way to the finals of it and losing it, I feel like they could be losing some momentum going into major one. I still think they're a really good team, and Gwen can carry them past anyone pretty much, but I think they got off to too hot of a start, and they might get a little complacent.
And you hear about that in COD quite a bit, peaking a little too early. Maybe those guys were just, quote unquote, out talenting people at the beginning of the year. They won a few map 5s. It was pretty icy, but we kind of came into this year knowing this would probably be one of the search teams. You have Slasher and Tej. Those guys are both experts at search. And you add Gwen. Gwen he runs their hard points. He runs their control. Sets the pace. As long as everybody's able to follow up and get his trades, follow up. If Tej is able to follow his pace a little bit, even Vivid obviously can run a sub. Fastest sub in the league for the last 5 years. They have him on AR this year, but he can obviously play the third sub. I think these guys, they're good. But I actually would agree with that statement that you just made that, I think maybe they got a little too hot to start the year. I know that kind of sounds silly, but I think that's perfectly accurate. Drive it, really.
Uh-huh.
And then I want to go over, so obviously this next match is FaZe Ultra. we don't necessarily have to spend too much time on either of the teams. Obviously, I'm not going to spend time on this series. Just I do want to talk about FaZe with their very early struggles to start the year. Obviously, if you look through the chart, 1, 2, 3, they started 0-3. It was a rough start for FaZe. Obviously, they win the next one, but they did get gifted a Falcons match. Blow back into it. And then going into the third weekend of matches, which was the minor, Simp pulls off a miraculous 1v4 against the Heretics on Vault, Search and Destroy. An unwinnable 1v4. Heretics scammed completely. But as soon as that happened, because they got slammed in the map 1 of that series, that's the only map they lost. I can't remember exactly, but I'm pretty sure they got 100-point 6 hard point. Once Simp 1v4'd in that search, it almost seemed like, it's almost as if somebody like flipped a light switch on for those guys. I don't think they've lost since. They won the minor. They look great again. I probably have them as the favorite to win this next match.
I agree with that. And I think it's like the reverse of the Ravens. They start out horrible. Everyone's talking about the team splitting up. And now they look like the best team in the league, and it might not even be close, honestly. Those guys are clicking right now. So instead of starting out hot like the Ravens, they figure out what's going on, and it's because of Sim. And now they have confidence, and they're probably going into every match thinking they're going to win. And that's a dangerous FaZe team.
And Selling was like one of the worst players in the league to begin the season, and he had a really good minor tournament. So, and that all comes from teamwork. But I do think they're obviously peaking at the right time for the majors. So
Yeah, I think you kind of hit the nail there. I think the problem with this team, Celium, his I hate to bring it up, but everyone kind of already knows he's been like this since site. He took more of an insight role where he was he could drop a 2.0 KD, but it would be a 14-7 map on a hard point where he's just not getting the engagements. When Celium first came in the league, they had him running sub. The guy was literally sprinting at me. And I know that's not usually what you want in a CDL match, but if your flex or your quote unquote main AR is supposed to, or like picking up the pace, especially in a game like Black Ops 6, it's hard to keep up with that, man. And if Celium keeps doing what he's doing, and he talks about it in all the interviews he does, where it's like that was his biggest focus in scrims and offline matches that they were running, it's just like he really wanted to increase the pace of his play to back where when he first got picked up and when he was active for 4-0 since he's came out and said so. I'm really impressed with Celium. I'm glad he found his groove again because FaZe looks scary and
yeah, and especially when you get to the point where where they're like 0-3 to start the year, you get to a point where you're like, oh my gosh, you're playing not to lose, and so that even makes it harder on pacing wise. You're not playing free, you're playing stiff, and that makes it just that much harder to break through a slump like that.
right. That's exactly right. Glad. I'm glad Celium had the self awareness to pick up on that. I might be the problem here. Let's try to switch some. I'm glad that happened because FaZe being good in the CDL just storylines. It's good for the league, man. Glad that those are good guys over there, man. I know that they play the quote unquote villains just because they're rivals with Optic, really, but those guys are good guys. They're really plenty. So I'm glad he's doing well again. Propels a lot. I know because right now I'd have to find it. Maybe we can go over it after this next weekend going into the major. But the CDL standings, they are in 8th right now. They are barely in
Yeah.
winners bracket.
Yeah, the major, or not the major, the minor doesn't count towards the first major, it only counts towards champs. So I mean, I don't know what the thought process was behind that, but they're probably not making winners bracket
Yeah,
in major one.
I think they will make winners bracket. I mean they have Falcons, they have Rocker, they have Mates, and Cloud9 below. Rocker had a really good minor, but they have 4. They're below FaZe right now. FaZe is in 8th, and I expect them to win their next couple. So I would think they get to a winners bracket spot. We will have to see. You never know. But yeah, you're exactly right. The minor standings don't affect, which everyone can have their opinion on that. I don't love that. I kind of get what they were going for, as in a little 2K or a 5K they used to have back in the day that doesn't affect, but even those used to affect pro points, which I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. The next team I want to talk about, though, is Ultra. This team has looked really good. I kind of expected it from them, just based off the guys they picked up. I loved their offseason moves. I think Joe Deceives and Beans are very talented mechanically, and they just need to be put into the right system for stars. And in my opinion, especially Joe Deceives, I mean, that guy's been a star.
Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of the same. Well, I think he's in the same situation as Vivid. If Joe plays well, Ultra's going to win because Kleenex is absolutely doing whatever he wants to teams right now. So if he gets another sub duo that's on the same page as him, they're going to be tough to beat whoever they play.
I feel like this team, anyone on that team can pop off except for Insight. Insight's just playing a filler role. Nothing against him. He's just a slower, someone has to be there when you have a team like Beans, Kleenex, and Joe. I mean, Kleenex and Joe are like some of the fastest SMGs in the game, right? So someone has to play a little slower, and that's Insight. But it feels like any one of those three could just pop off a game and carry them to a victory, or they're kind of a volatile team to me. I feel like they can beat anyone, but they can also lose to anyone too, except for the Falcons. But they can lose to pretty much anyone.
I've had Falcons, but at the same time,
Stray.
no, yeah, I agree. Insight, and he's had the same role ever since he's come into the league. They found success with it, but they really rely on somebody to pop off for them if they're gonna find success. And Kleenex, Joe, they can do that. I think the most important thing to this team, I think it kind of gets overlooked a little bit, but I think the most important thing is Kleenex finally found a duo that is faster than him in Joe Deceives, and I think that actually improves Kleenex's playstyle a lot, because Kleenex is the type of player to, yeah, he'd be a great entry, and he was a great entry. But now, if you have Joe on the entry, Kleenex can come in, wipe up the guy Joe got weak, and trade or pick a second. Usually, in those situations, you can almost guarantee a 2 out of Toby. So I think that was one of their best moves they could have made. Obviously, Ben Beans is a phenomenal talent on the AR, and I'm glad they got him too. But Insight, he's doing his thing. He's doing what he needs to do. Obviously, the team's doing well. That minor tournament, it's a little disappointing for Toronto Ultra, but can't put too much merit to it. It is an online tournament. Who really shows up, in my opinion? But at the same time, I like this Ultra team. They look really good. They're first overall in the CDL standings right now, so I'm excited to see what they do at the major, and looking forward to how they grow, because I think they have a lot of growing to do, and if they do that growing correctly, they could be a scary threat. But let's move on.
Yeah, I want to take it back to Kleenex for a second.
Yeah.
Now he's playing like the simp role instead of the Abizi role, right? So Abizi,
Correct.
he's like, when you compare him to the tears, now he doesn't have to be as fast as Abizi does because Joe gets to be like Abizi and he gets to take a step back and play a little differently. But yeah, I like what Ultra's doing.
Yeah, that's very accurate. I think it's a really good comparison actually. The two duos on those two teams pretty similar. Now that Toby's found a quicker sub, Nabizi. So I'm excited, obviously, what they do. I think yeah, Heretics, Falcons, both obviously we'll talk about the Falcons a little bit more than the Heretics are kind of that mid pack team where they can pull an upset. Their search is absolutely atrocious. I don't trust them in any search map. But their respawns look good. I won't take that away from them. Their hard points, especially, look really good. Um, they they can count on that to win them series, but they're gonna have to start winning a swing mode in search or control for them to win a series. 2 hard points in a series. So, um,
I, I, I feel like their search guy was lucky last year and he just hasn't been
yeah, yeah.
that guy for him.
What
Yeah.
happened to Lucky, man? That guy, he's close to the lower end of the league on KD across all game modes. He's looking slow. He doesn't look like he's as coordinated with the team as the rest of the three. It's been weird.
Yeah.
It's been weird.
They got a guy with a visa now, so I bet Lucky's coming out pretty
Yeah,
soon.
I think Super will be coming in. I think they're going to give Lucky this major one. I think see Super in the team if it doesn't improve or doesn't show.
Be Lucky and Vickle were close. I don't know.
Yeah. It's hard to tell. And also the Heretics did pick up Rencor for this year, and Rencor's looked great. He's talented. Good. I think him on an AR with Real running it down on a sub. I think great duo. Metals is very, very, very streaky, inconsistent as all hell. When he pops off, they do well. When he does what Scrap did against Optic, it's tough. I'm excited to see what they do. At the same time, I don't hold much merit for the Heretics. Like I said, they're certain. But mainly, I wanted to talk about the Falcons here. Falcons as a team came in this year as a brand new team. They obviously have a CDL team and they have an academy team in Challengers. They've made some moves. One was involuntary. Their best player, actually, unfortunately, in kicks, lead. He had some personal issues going on, and no one really knows what those were per se, but we do know that he went back to Saudi because they are in Texas now, playing in Texas, that Falcons team. But Kicks, after the first 2 weekends, there was something that came up, so he had to go back home. Very unfortunate for the Falcons. I think that was easily their most talented player. But I also want to bring up Xnid. Xnid has picked up the pace and kind of picked up that slack that Kicks left. And I think that guy's talented, man. I think Xnid's really good. Kicks was obviously, in my opinion, their best player, but I think Xnid's really good. I think this Falcons team just needs some time to mold. After Major 1, they have a week or two to get right until qualifiers for Major 2. I think this team could be really good, but the guys they picked up for Kicks and obviously King of Body was released and dropped down to their Challengers team. The guys they picked up is Duwoom. It's spelled like Doom, but I think it's like Duwoom or something, and then Wixel. Both those guys just haven't been CDL ready, in my opinion. They just don't look like they're ready for the league right now. which is kind of unfortunate for the team. But they want to stick to this Saudi based, region based team, which is all good. I just hope it works out for them because they do a lot for the Call of Duty competitive scene, and I'm glad that they're in. But yeah, I'm hoping it kind of turns around. What do you guys think about Falcon?
They just need to find their footing. I mean, you can tell they're a newer franchise. They're just struggling, is all. I like them trying to, change things up, find the right team, but right now, all the other teams, except for a couple, I mean, it looks like everyone else has their guys. So they're kind of behind the 8 ball, is all.
Yeah, it's a little disappointing. Kicks was probably, I mean, I know it's really early, but rookie of the year candidate, even on a team that hasn't won a game, just how well he was looking. But then there's just not a lot of rookies in the league, right? So, um, he was one of the obvious choices. So to have him gone kind of sucks. But Xnid has been, I mean, he's kind of had massive maps. Somehow drops 52 and still loses to Optic is crazy. But like if he can keep it going and just the new guys are able to settle into the league, they can win a match against the Heretics. But against anyone else, I doubt it.
Gentlemaids. They could win a
Gentle,
gentlemaids.
they can win a Gentlemaids map. That's true.
Yeah, I think Kix was really just racing it against Rencor at this point for Rookie of the Year. Like you said, there's not a lot of rookies this year. I know, in my opinion, Rencor's looked the best out of quote unquote all the rookies. But Kix obviously stepped away for a little bit, so it's hard to kind of judge. But Rencor's in the lead for me. That guy's looked really good.
Yeah.
Just scrolling down, going down the list. I'm trying to cover all the teams. Obviously, we're not going over the series per se, but I'm trying to go over all the teams. Rocker, man, I don't know how to feel about this Rocker team. I think they can show up on any given day, but they could also just be, having an off day, or one of their guys is really struggling and it just pulls them down just far enough to lose. Rocker, I don't think they've gone a single series without going to map 5 this year, which is pretty tippable out of them for getting to map 5. They haven't won a lot of them in the qualifiers. The minor, they looked good. They won back-to-back series in map 5. I'm pretty sure round 11. Even if it wasn't round 11, it was definitely map 5. They got through the first 2 rounds in minors, and they faced someone in semis. They came in 4th. They came in top 4 in that minor, but they are currently in 9th in standings for the qualifier. So they've looked rough, but also have some shining spots. It's a tough team to read, man, this Rocker team. It really is. I think Nero and Estriel look really good. Geo is kind of where Metals is for me. Geo's obviously a really talented player. I like Geo as a player, but I think he kind of needs to start being more consistent for people to really get his name out there. I think that guy's really good, but I think he needs to start doing it more often, if that makes sense. And I think Paulex is definitely the weak spot of that team. Brent, what do you think about Rocker? What's your feelings on them right
I actually, that was my other surprise team because I think they are one player away from being a top 4 team in the CDL. Estriel looks like an animal this year. Nero he's had a good match. He's had some bad matches. But if Nero has a good map, Estriel has been consistent enough. And I think they're just one AR player because I think Geo can play well with another AR like he did last year with Attach. But I'm sorry to say, Paul X just has not performed well. So I think they're one AR switch away from being a top 4 team in the league. I think they're really good with the way they're playing right now.
Casey, before you go, I kind of want to bring up this question because we have two absolute world champion superstars that aren't in the league right now, Illy and Pred. Do you think this team benefits at all, and this goes to both of you, do you think this team benefits at all for picking up a player like Illy or even like Pred? Because I know Pred can run an AR.
I think they would benefit more from Illy than Pred because I think in this game, Pred needs to be on a sub because the sub is just a better gun in this game. So I think if a team is going to benefit more from having a guy like Pred, he needs to run the sub. So I think Illy is a better fit for Rocker than Pred.
I always like when teams try to give it a chance, give players one more go. But when you have that kind of talent, and like as soon as Pred's ready to come back, someone's gonna get him. So you have to be talking to him instantly. It doesn't matter where you are. Um I think Illy being ready would be huge for this team too. I like Brent. I just love especially as of late, Estriel has been on fire. I did not have high hopes for this Rocket team coming into the league because I wasn't sold on Estriel from last year. I thought Neo was going to be on an island because Paul X hasn't been here for a while, and Geo was on a Vegas team last year that was kind of hit or miss. So I thought this was kind of a mixed together mashed team, and I think Estriel's been the paper mache holding everything together right now. But I do think Illy could be a huge pickup for him. And don't apologize. Paul X has not been good. You don't have to apologize for saying it.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that
All right, Paul
guy's
X has been shit.
that guy
Well, yeah.
that guy's been rough. He's had a rough year so far. Paul X as
I
a
think it's because
player.
of his picture.
Yeah, I mean they did him
That's
dirty in his picture, his CDL headshot. I mean that's a tough pick, but yeah, I mean he's been underwhelming for sure for this team. I think a player like Illy elevate them, especially in their search. I know they go round 5 a lot, so that really would be like a perfect setup for Illy. I mean, arguably the best search player we've ever had. So it'd be exciting for Illy or quote Yoda King. He went back to Illy finally, but there was 2 days where he was Yoda King for a little bit. It'd be exciting for him to come into this league. I also want to point out Estriel has been obviously really good. That he's been almost everything for that team. But I want to point out as well, mainly is Geo. And I know people want to talk about Nero. Nero's been really good in this game too. Their sub duo is not the issue. I really think Geo, he's inconsistent right now. But if you think about what he was dealing with last year, Attach had a really good year, but at the same time, they had subs that were just kind of running forward and just getting into fights. So Attach was able to both ARs were able to just pick up free kills. Geo was more of on a kill horse slayer role last year, in my opinion. I think in this game, he's really trying to form and mold his game into. It's actually what Dashy did in going from Modern Warfare 2 to Modern Warfare 3. Dashy kind of molded himself into more of a team player, more of a hill-oriented player, more of a formal role that the Dynasty used to run. I really think that's what Geo's trying to do right now, and I tip it heavily. I applaud it because he's doing it early in his career, and if he can get that play style molded into his personal play style, I think that guy's going to be dangerous. I think he's going to be really good and somebody that maybe even the top teams start to look. But he's got to start getting more consistent. He's got to find his identity. We will move on. We will move on to the Surge, Vancouver Surge as they now are. This team has been underwhelming. I expected more from them this year. Abuza has not been the Abuza that we came to expect. Hixie is he's doing his thing. He's going even most of the series. He's having some rough ones against top teams. I think that's mainly this team's struggle is you put them up against a top team and they really aren't a contest. Yeah, they can handle the middle of the pack. They can handle lower 8, but you put them up against somebody that has a solid like respawn game mode. They have solid search. Surge, in my opinion, should be one of the top search teams in the league, and they just aren't. So I'm a little underwhelmed by Surge. I think 04's had kind of a stinker year so far as well. But yeah, what do you guys think about Surge? I think they're kind of on my lower end of expectation.
Yeah, I would say they're in the bottom half of the league, for sure. They're just kind of in there with Heretics, Gentlemaids. I mean, no one really knows what's going to happen. I don't know if they're really going to make any roster changes either. So I feel like they just have to figure it out if they want to win.
One thing I will point out is Surge, they do play from Vancouver, Canada. Almost all of their online games are on 50 to 60 ping. I will point that out, so I do want to just state it now. I want to see what they do at the major on LAN. I want to see what they can produce. But they have complained about that all year, and it's no one's fault but themselves for staying in Vancouver and not moving down to Texas or Atlanta or something like that. It's an online league. I mean, you got to expect that. You can't blame paying anymore.
That's fair.
Yeah. Well, I think their problem, and you touched on it, Mark, a little bit. I think it's 04. I thought he was going to have a superstar like year, like him and Abuza could have been like one of the. Obviously, they're not like a sub duo or an AR duo, but just like two of the most. I thought they were going to be like two of the most impressive guys coming into this year. So I think it's more of like an 04 problem because 04, like his game mode search and I mean, he's been kind of struggling even on that part. So if they could just have him get back to where he was towards the end of last year, I think they could start pulling out some of these wins. But I do like the ping issue you brought up because it's been all online, right? So that's why I don't like teams switching before Major One, except if you're just really bad, then go for it. But or if like teammates aren't getting along or something like that, like obviously switch. But I feel like you got to give them a LAN experience, just to get maybe confidence going, or just try to give them a chance. So hopefully we see more good things out of Surge because I had high hopes for him, higher than Rocker, that's for sure. And I right now I have more confidence in a Pollux Rocker team than a Hixie Surge.
Yeah, and I don't want to put blame on Hixie. I think Hixie's really been. I think he's doing well expected. I think it really has been an Abuza or under right now. They obviously just won a series against the Falcons last weekend, but in which that Abuza he did fry. But it is a Falcons team that hasn't looked good. They haven't won a match. Very far and few between maps have they even won. So I don't know. Like you said, I'm kind of with you in the point of let the guys play on LAN. If it doesn't look good, they get rounded. If even if they don't get rounded and they barely scrape by, make your decision after that. Especially with a team like Vancouver, just because of course their ping. But like I said, you also can't use that as an excuse. The CDL accounts have a neutral server set up where both teams will be on 50 to 60 ping. And you would arguably say that Surge has an advantage in those matches because they are used to playing on that ping. But at the same time, I get it. Some gunfights are kind of. I got hoed out of that one. I should have won that. I do understand that. You kind of, you do an Optic versus Thieves online match. Both those teams are on 5 ping. It's a lot more realistic than watching a Surge versus a Miami Heretics team.
No, yeah, just to bring it back to the changing of the teams, except if you have superstars that you can get, obviously. I mean, go get them. But other than that, I think you just hold on to your team after the LAN event and then say bye.
Yeah, I mean, actually, I wanted to bring up that point when we were talking. Yeah, you had brought that up, I think, Casey, a little bit earlier. Maybe it was this team, maybe it was the team before. I'm not quite sure, but yeah, I mean, look at what Optic did. I know it was kind of a niche situation. Pred was having some personal issues, needed to step away for a little while, go back home. Understandable. It happens. You know, it's got to be a lot. All the eyes, especially being on Optic, is a lot of pressure, I'm sure. But they, you know, they took the initiative. Hook was the best player in the game. I would even say doing better than any of the pros in what he was doing at the time. And they went and picked him up right there and then. I think that's kind of got to be more normalized for teams that are struggling. And like I said, I would like to see people wait until the major. At the same time, you just kind of gotta pull the trigger on guys like Hook in this game. This game fits Hook perfectly. It's literally, it feels like it's made for players like Hook and Shotzi, or you know, they're able to do what they want, take routes that they want. I think it's just a great move from Optic, the best one they could have made for losing AG. Okay, so next we have Thieves and Cloud9. The two teams we haven't talked about. After these two teams, I think we've covered all of them. We'll go into the next weekend. Sorry for a little bit of a prelude here, but we've been away for a while, so I want to cover some teams. But yeah, Thieves and Cloud9. Obviously, the LA Thieves were created as a quote-unquote super team to this league. They looked great right before the break. Once the winter break happened, they came back. It's looked shaky, to say the nicest thing you could about that team right now. They don't look great. I'm kind of worried about them, but they should be able to figure some stuff out. And the Thieves did have some drama. Hydra got stuck in France when he went home for the winter break. His visa expired. I'm not sure if he knew or not. They were procrastinating. I'm not sure, but his visa did expire, and they were about 3 or 4 days late to scrims coming back. It's all sorted out, obviously, now, but they do need to iron out the kinks and get back to where they were, because this team should, on paper, be top one.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything to worry about if I'm the Thieves right now. I think they're fine. They just keep playing. They'll get better at the game, get better at working together. And I don't. It's the top three teams. I mean, they lost to Optic in a round 11, map 5. I know they lost in a terrible way, but if I mean, you play Optic to the end, you played a good match. That's all.
They did lose both the hard points in that series, though. We do have to keep that in mind.
That's true. That is unexpected with a guy like Hydra and a guy like Scrap. We're taking out the first hard point because obviously Scrap
Yeah, that's a
had the
tough one.
worst hard point in CDL history.
That was a
But
tough one for sure.
I mean, with a guy like Hydra on your team, you know you can win a hard point map. And if Hydra plays like Hydra, I mean, the team's going to be fine. Yeah, I don't think there's no. I mean, Nate Shot's overreacting, but Nate Shot's doing it for views, I think. So
He knows what he's doing.
I was gonna say this team should have no excuses. I'm with Nate Shot in this one. Get your act together. Just win. I mean, they're the best team in the league. Do better.
I mean, Nate Shot,
Come on.
he
Hydra and
literally,
Scrap?
yeah, he literally took a salary cut to create this team. So I do understand where he's coming from. But yeah, no. Go ahead, guys.
No, yeah, that's all. That's pretty much it. I don't like any excuses for this team. They should be the best in the league. Yeah, you might lose a tough one to Optic. Yeah, whatever. You know, you might lose a tough one to FaZe. Yeah, but you should be steamrolling everyone else, right? And I mean, even when FaZe was down bad, they should have steamrolled FaZe, but you know, FaZe caught on. But they should have the capability to just be better than everyone else in this league, and shut everyone out, especially on the hardpoint side. That was the biggest surprise, especially this last weekend against Optic. They were bad. And partially maybe it's Envoy carried him early in the year because he was playing out of his mind, and now maybe he's not so much. And they need to rely on some of that pure talent out of Hydra and Scrap, and that's not showing through yet. I don't know. I don't know if they're just their ego's too big right now, and they think they're better than everyone without actually trying. So I want to see this team succeed, but they need to figure something out if they're gonna be complacent like that.
Yeah, no, I think you're right there. I think it's exactly right. I don't want to see any excuses out of this team. Have all of the talent in the world to be the league. Obviously, it's a rough patch with Hydra being late back to scrims. They, a couple days of scrims, coming back into the break. Obviously, after the break, the patch happened. The visual recoil was taken out. So even then, they're pro players. The recoil patterns didn't change. It's just visual. So I think, in my opinion, I know Scrap had a really bad map 1 against Optic in this last series on Sunday, but in my opinion, it's been Hydra. He's kind of just looked like a good sub player. He hasn't looked like Hydra. That's really how I feel. I think Hydra is much better than what he's shown this year. And if I'm not wrong, this is how he's been to every start of the year that he's been in the league. I'm pretty sure he's started average, and then throughout the year has just gotten better and better. So I'm excited to see if he can really put it together and do that same thing, which I expect him to at this point, just because he's so talented. Hydra, you can't say enough about the guy, really. But that guy's an amazing player. And like you said, Envoy had started really good early, but is kind of fell off a little bit, and I think that has to do with Hydra's play a little bit as well, just because I think that team kind of plays off of Hydra's play style. So I'm interested to see what they do. I think they'll be fine. But yeah, it hasn't looked good. Obviously, they formed this team to beat Optic and to beat FaZe. The two teams that they formed this team for. So they weren't able to do that in their most recent matches, and that's a little bit worrisome in my opinion. But it's also, we haven't had a LAN match, so we'll see. The next team I wanted to go over was Cloud9. Oh man, Cloud9. They're in a rough spot. Cloud9 has not looked good, so I'm not sure really what to say about them besides obviously Sib has looked farther than poor. He's
My bust of the year, baby. That was my
Yeah.
bust of the year.
Yeah, he's looked really bad. I'm not gonna lie, it's been rough for him. The last couple series, he's been really good. So I'm glad that he's kind of starting to figure it out a little bit. Except the only problem is when he looks really good, Mac looks really bad. I heard Octane talk about this a little bit. Shout out Sam LaRue, but it's really, this team has no identity. They have no game mode where they're like, yeah, we're gonna win this game mode. It really is just kind of a toss up every map, and you never want that as a team. If you're a team in the league, you really want to be good at, we're really good at hard points. We got to focus on winning those, and then we can work on our control or our search throughout the year. They don't have that really good game mode. They're just trying to scrape by on every game mode, and that's just never going to work, especially against the teams in the league. I think this year's been probably one of the most competitive years that we've seen in competitive Call of Duty ever. So I'm a little worried for Cloud9. They obviously have really good staff. They have good coaches. I mean, they got Lamar Accuracy as their head coach now. Tupac from FaZe last year is their search coach now. So I'm excited to see what they can do, see if they can mold it around and figure it out this year. But yeah, we need to see a turnaround from this team, or I'm going to lose complete hope for Cloud9, unfortunately, because I like those guys over there.
Hope's gone.
No, I don't think any hope is gone.
Hope's gone.
But they have been key dog bad. So it's been a tough go. I like Mac though. I like how he's doing. He's trying to give him a little spark, but other than that, there's not much there.
Yeah, kind of what I brought up a little earlier. Max looked pretty poor in the last couple series, which hasn't resulted any better for them. Sibs dropping positive KDs. They're getting sweeped. They're getting embarrassed by teams. It's been rough for them. We'll see what they can do. I like Casey said, I don't think hope is lost on any team right now. I think
Hope's gone.
I don't even think that. I think it just needs. They need to work a lot, like hard. Gotta have the mindset. It's like someone's always better than you. But at the same time, it's looking rough. It's a little scary for these guys. So yeah. Moving on, like I said, there's really not too much to say about Cloud9. Unfortunately, they just figure it out. They have the talent. They got to put it together. We kind of skipped over Gentlemates. I wanted to talk about them a little bit. They have had a shit year, and I'm worried for them. I think, in my opinion, Gentlemates should be the top of the list for picking up Illy or Pred. I think these guys need to make a change as soon as possible. I know I say give them a major, but this team is kind of out of that question. They need someone. Priesta he's been terrible this year. I know he had a really good last series. He dropped like a 1.3 or something. I get that, but man, them in Cloud9. In my opinion, them and Cloud9 are the same exact team. They have no identity on the map. They have nothing that they're excelling at. They have a decent control, but if you're losing maps 1 and 2, you win a control. It's not very convincing. So I think they need to make a change. Priesta guys and Kismet, I think those guys have kind of run their course together. It kind of shows you how much Hydra had to carry for them to win as much as they did forward together. Linz just isn't Hydra. He's great. Linz is really good, but he's not Hydra. So I'm expecting them to make a change.
That's what I was going to say. The problem with Gentlemates is I feel like they just put Linz in there because they thought, just another sub player. He's good. He plays pretty fast. But, I mean, no one can repeat what Hydra did 2 years ago. Like, that guy was insane. So, and 2 years later, you have probably maybe 2 of the slowest sub or AR players outside of Insight. You have Skies and Priesta. So, you need to make a change. Kiz is doing all right. I think Kiz is fine to stay. Either Priesta or Skies probably needs to get replaced on that team.
I think if there was a team to come out and benefit more off of a LAN match, I think there isn't a team that can benefit more off of a LAN appearance than this team. I think they've got the experience in champs. They've got the experience on LAN to actually pull something together. It's just, will they make it to LAN is the question. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, no, I mean I'm right there with you. They have the experience, like you said. All of those guys have performed well on LAN. Obviously, they won champs, they've won majors. Yeah, we'll have to see. I don't mind if they don't make a change, but if they do poorly at the major one, this team has to make a change, or they gave up. That's my opinion.
Yep.
With the second biggest crowd, it's not good to see that they're.
Yeah, exactly, and that has to be pointed out. Is Gotaga, the owner of the Gentlemates, French organization now? Gotaga is huge. He has a huge following behind his brand. They've been in almost every esport. Their first year in COD, but they've been in every esport literally ever until now. So they have a huge following. This team's 1-5, 1-6 maybe now, including minor. And every time that they lose, any time they lose, all of their posts, individual players, Gentlemate's profile, Gotaga, it's all so positive. They want to see this team do well. They want to have a good team to root for. It's unfortunate how they've started, but that's exactly why I think they need to make a change, because if we can satisfy this team, it's really good for the scene. It really is. So, I don't know. That's kind of pretty much the 12 teams. I think we covered all 12 of them now. So, we're going to move on. I know that was an hour, but like I said, we've missed some matches and some weekends. So, but we're moving on to this weekend. Really going to point on the predictions now, because we've kind of just been going through teams right now, but really going to go through predictions. We have the updated scores to the bottom right. I missed Friday. I was working, forgot about it, didn't get it in, so I missed Friday, but we'll go off Brent and Casey's. It looks like Cloud9 took down Gentlemates,
Actually, Gentlemates won.
Yeah,
Gentlemates got the first win.
Yeah, you guys predicted Cloud9 over Gentlemates. Gentlemates 3-0'd Cloud9. So there is a glimmer of hope, but that's the series that I was talking about Priesta having a masterclass. Priesta, he overperformed by a lot, and it showed. So you could call it an X factor if you want. I call it an overperformance. That's kind of where I'll leave it. That's the only match that they've won all year against a struggling Cloud9 team. So we'll see what they end up doing. That's good. That's good work out of Gentlemates. Unfortunately, both of you guys missed that prediction.
I'd just like to say, I think Casey copied my Friday picks here. Look at this. Look at this.
I made him
nonsense
first.
going on.
I made him first. I texted you guys. I had him up and ready.
We have some
I don't think
rewind
so.
beef.
I don't think so. I think you copied it.
No.
That's how he has the best record.
Because I copied your losing ass. Is that what's going on?
Oh.
You're just looking at everyone else's predictions, and you're like, "Oh, okay, let's do this."
Whoa, hold on here. You copied me, man. That is almost word for word what I put down.
That's what I'm saying. I think for sure you copied me.
I filled out all 3 days before Friday even started. That is on you, man.
I did it Thursday.
No, you didn't because I made it Friday morning.
I think you copied.
What's unfortunate is I would 100% guarantee to be tied with Casey right now if I got my Friday ones in. I'm picking Falcons over Optic. That sucks. Yeah. But at the same time, that was good. Good work out of Gentlemates there. Rough predictions. Obviously, Optic take Falcons. It was weird. That was the series that Exnid dropped 52, and did Falcons win the search or the control? I can't remember.
They didn't. They got 3-0. Right?
No, they got one. It was 1-3 in that one.
Oh, I predicted out. They won the search. Yeah,
I was pretty sure they won the search. And Falcons have won 2 or 3 search maps this year. So search obviously in this game is kind of a hit or miss just because of the pacing and the routes that are able to be taken. So it's understandable. They really need to round out their respawn. The 2 players they picked up, I kind of touched on it a little earlier in this episode, but they need to step up. They need to start moving, start shooting back a little bit more. So that's all I have to say about that one. Optic takes that one 1-3. Rocker Ultra, that one was a great series actually. Came down to yet again another map 5. If you look at any Rocker match this year, it's going to be map 5. But Ultra 6-0'd them in the protocol search in the map 5 of that one, and Benjamin Beans was talking shit. So
Insight went 1-3 and they won 6-0 in the protocol search.
Yeah.
Like
not bad.
It's a tough one for Rocker.
Ultra looks unbelievable in search though. I don't
Search
think
protocol.
I don't yeah,
Search protocol.
I don't think they've lost a search map this year, Ultra themselves. I really don't. I guess I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure they've won every search they've played. That team's scary in search and destroy right now, which is huge because that's a swing mode. Yeah, that's obviously map 2 and map 5. So very big mode to be good at, and they are good at it. So props to them. You guys predicted that one correctly. And we'll move on to Saturday, which I do have predictions in. So this one, we all went Surge. You guys gave it a 3-1, and I gave it a 3-0, and you guys were correct. It was a 3-1 against Falcons. I think Falcons, again, took a search off of these guys. Surge has looked terrible in search. They should be really good at it, but they haven't looked good at it. But Falcons did take a search again. Like I said, they need to round out the respawns. But Surge, it's a good little confidence series for Surge. It was the only match they had this weekend. So I really think that was good for their confidence. Abuza fucking absolutely fried in that series, so it's really good for him. I think he'll take that into their next weekend, going into the major as well. I'm looking forward to the Surge team now. But move on to Cloud9 and Heretics here.
Well,
go ahead.
That last one, I think the Falcons won the search in that one too. So maybe they're finding something in search. I don't know, but I'm pretty sure they beat them in the search there. So that's back-to-back search wins. And they don't get to play a lot of maps, so they're not seeing a lot of map 5s. So
I don't think
They lose quick.
I don't think they've seen a single map 5.
I doubt it.
No, yeah.
so if they can get to a map 5,
they haven't seen a single map 5 yet this year. But
Well, just wait for the Rocker Falcons map 5.
They have won 3 or 4 search maps this year, which is big. It's good for them, but we will see. Cloud9 Heretics here. We all took Cloud9 here, and Heretics came out with it in map 5, and that's big for the Heretics because their search has looked really rough. A Cloud9, like we've kind of covered already in this episode, struggling Cloud9 at that. Took them to map 5. Heretics pull out the map 5 search. Good work out of them. We got that one wrong, but I'm still not sold on, obviously either of these teams being Cloud9 I'm talking about, but I'm not sold on the Heretics. I really am not. Brent, I think you touched on it earlier. I think Lucky really has been rough. I think Super would improve this team a lot.
Get that visa.
Yeah, so we'll see what they do. I expect them to make a change if they go out top 8 or obviously top 12 in this major, which will be in Madrid, which is in Spain. So I'm excited. That'd be fun. It's a Europe event. We haven't had one of those in a long time. Breach and Royal Ravens. This series had a lot of hype going into it just because of how good the Royal Ravens have looked, and obviously they made it to grand finals in that minor against FaZe. Yeah, I think Casey was saying it actually. I think they're kind of just losing steam. I think they started out really, really good. I think teams have kind of learned the game a little bit more and really started to understand a little bit more of what's going on, and I think they're just kind of falling behind a little bit almost. So
should have copied me here, Brent.
Oh yeah, okay.
yeah, it looks like Casey's the only one that got the Breach prediction here. Other than that, I mean, we were all pretty similar. And I only did Saturday, but we were the exact same on Saturday.
Yeah, Casey decides not to copy me once, and he's up 1. One game. Yeah, decides not to copy me on one game. I'll just leave it there.
I don't like this. I like
Yeah.
this lip I'm getting.
Yeah. So anyway, Breach. We already talked about it. Breach looks really good. I'm excited to see what they do. Obviously, they take down Ravens here, which is a big win for them for CDL standings. But yeah, Breach look good. Excited to see what they do. Moving on to Sunday here. First match was pretty much a snooze. We kind of all expected Ultra to win this one. Gentlemates, they took a map. I'm pretty sure they took the control. Ultra has looked kind of on control. Gentlemates, that's easily their best mode. So obviously, control is the quote unquote swing mode, as people want to refer to it as. But in my opinion, it's kind of the less important mode, just because obviously it is map 3. You avoid the sweep, but you only get one control per series. Both other game modes, you get 2 if you push the distance. So I think that one's kind of, I don't know. I don't give as much merit to it as some people do. But it is good they took the control off Ultra. Ultra's a great team. But ultimately, Ultra ends up taking this one. And then just kind of skimming over, just because we're kind of going deep into an episode here. Thieves and Optic, which this one was the match of the weekend. So you got the super team taking on the defending world champs, and this is a built up to be a great series. It looks like both of you guys took Thieves in this one, and I took Optic. I predicted a 1-3. I expected Optic to lose the search, but I expected them to win all the respawns, which didn't happen. They lost the control as well, but they took the map 4 and map 5. So took both the hard points, which I think is notable against a team like the Thieves. And obviously, we have to talk about the map 5, but we have clips pulled up for that, so we'll talk about that in a couple minutes. Do you guys have anything
Yeah, I
to
wouldn't have picked them.
You guys have anything to
I
say
wouldn't have
about
picked
this series? Sorry, my bad.
No, it's good. I just wouldn't have picked them if I knew they were gonna play like. Never mind. I was gonna say a bad word. Go Optic.
Yeah.
Casey copied me again on that one, so I don't know.
We got to stop this narrative right now. We got to smother it.
I mean,
put it out.
Brett, you did 3-1. You did 3-2.
Yeah, he just didn't want him. He's just trying to mask it. That's all.
Like the wall hackers on rank trying to hide it.
Exactly. Cheater.
Yeah, I think there's some beef going on, Rewind fam. But I think the only notes I really have on this map is obviously, like I had already said, Optic took both hard points. The first one, they 100-point clubbed Thieves, and that was on a Hacienda. We all know Optic, it's Hacienda with Optic is just, they're really good at it. Usually Dashy's the one that's kind of doing his thing on that map, but yeah, it was definitely the sub duo on that map 1. Hook was match MVP in this whole match combined. So the guy went crazy. Hook's looking really good in this game. I know a lot of people were criticizing and like, oh, Hook's always been an onliner. Let's see what he does on LAN. And sure, let's see what he does on LAN. But he's looked really good for this team, and I think he makes Shotzzy look even more comfortable. So I think that can only be good for Optic. Kind of touched on Thieves already. Hydra is kind of just playing like a great sub, not like Hydra. And I put Hydra in a 1-of-1 category at this point. So we'll see. We'll see what Thieves can do. I expect good things out of Thieves for on LAN. But yeah, Optic took that one in map 5. We'll talk about that a little bit later because that was a pretty dramatic match. Next series is Rocker versus FaZe. This one, I'm not gonna lie, I was really expecting a better series out of this match here. FaZe really looked comfortable in this one. I don't even remember what map they lost, but it even if they did lose it, it was barely. FaZe is obviously the better team right now than Rocker, and I think this just kind of goes to prove FaZe they look really good right now, man.
I think this solidified phase is the favorites going to major one because they just backed it
I
up.
think
They backed up their minor is all they did. So
I think this was a tough spot for Rocker though, because Rocker just faced them in the minor semifinals, and they took him to map 5. So like if like they could have beat FaZe like last weekend, and they have to go around and play him again when FaZe is even hotter now. I think that's unfair for Rocker. I don't want to discredit them any there to give FaZe to give the credit to FaZe.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously you bring that up. The minor being, so there's only 2 minor tournaments. There's one in this one, obviously that already happened, and then Major 2 as well, right before the Dallas Major. But it is a little weird because you have matchups like Falcons had to play Optic back-to-back times. FaZe played Rocker back-to-back times. It's a little weird, especially since it doesn't count toward the major standings. I don't know. I feel like the CDL probably could have done a little better with the formatting of that tournament, but we won't harp on it too much. It is what it is. It's great that we have. It's literally like the NBA Cup, the in-season tournament that the NBA does. It's just like that. I don't know. I think it's good. I think it's good for the scene. I think they're on the right path. And if the CDL wants to stay around, they're going to have to do this more. They're going to have to incorporate it in better ways and put more hype around. Rocker FaZe, obviously it went to FaZe 1-3. Like we've all said, FaZe looks really good. We'll see what they can do in the major. They, in my opinion, are the favorites. I think that's the sentiment through all 3 of us here. Is I think probably the favorites to win this major.
Casey's probably saying breach. But it's all right.
Austin, that's exactly what I was going to say. You copier.
I said it first.
Okay.
Do you wanna elaborate on that a little bit, Casey?
No, yep. You're damn right. Purge is killing it.
Okay.
No, I think they're off to a good start. They're not off to like the best start ever, so they've been kind of just chipping away. They've been better than everyone's expected, and I think it could be time for them to pop at this major one.
Now, don't get me wrong. I don't have Breach winning major 1, but I also don't have them getting rounded or even second rounded. I really do think that they could make a push. Which
They can
would
get top 4.
Yeah, I think I'm right there with you. I think they almost deserve a top 4 with the way they're playing right now. I think some prize money would be really good for those players right now, just for confidence and for chemistry. I think it would boost them. Go ahead, Brent.
No, I top 8 max.
Okay.
It's wrong.
And it really depends after this weekend what the bracket looks like too. Breach really could get screwed if they land 7th, 8th spot. Yeah. It could be really tough. But they, like I've said, they beat Ravens convincingly. They look good. They really do look good. So I'm excited to see what they do. We'll just have to wait and see what they do, and we'll have to wait and see what the bracket lines up to be. I think Toronto will probably be the number 1 seed. I'm pretty sure they have 2 more matches this next weekend. Optic only has 1. Optic's in 2nd. Toronto's in 1st. But I'm pretty sure Toronto's set to win both their next ones. I don't think they're against any top teams here. So Toronto will probably go in number 1, and they're a great team. Optic's obviously a great team. Thieves, FaZe, all great teams. So it'll be a fun major. I think it'll be a really fun major, and keeping in mind that it's in Madrid, that just adds to it. I'm so happy we have Europe events again. It's great for the scene. It's great for EU fans. There's a lot of them, so I think it'll be a fun event. Obviously, the rewind won't be at that one. We'll be watching that online. So I think we're gonna move on. Actually, let's go over some records here. So I ended 26-14. Obviously, a little skewed because I missed one day on this last weekend. But Brent ended 26-17, and Casey ended 27-16. So Casey is in the lead in the wins category here.
Yeah, that's just too bad. I'm sorry, guys.
I don't know.
You're sorry. What?
Hopefully, you have better weekends to come because this domination can't keep coming on.
Okay, we're moving on. So I have a few tabs pulled up. I think I ended up pulling up 8 tabs from Twitter. They're all Breaking Point. Shout out Breaking Point and Lion Man and all of them that run Breaking Point. They do a great job, man. They are carrying the CDL. But let's just start off. I think all of these clips are actually from Sunday on this last weekend. Just Friday and Saturday were kind of snooze fest a little bit. But let's cover Sunday because Sunday was very exciting and I think we need to cover it. So we're going to start off. This was, sorry, my lights aren't cooperating. We're going to start off Thieves Earth Optic. This was the map 4 Skyline. They ran them in the Hacienda 250 to like 96 or something in the first map. Thieves end up taking the search and control. So Optic is down 1-2 here, and they have to win this map. Obviously very good at Skyline, but let's go ahead and take a peek. We saw Cloud9 got blacklisted for 1 day from scrims because of Sib snaking the Lambo in Hacienda. I'm interested to see what you guys think about this one. I have both POVs now, so we have obviously the guy who's shooting him from down below Cat here, or Cat Steps, I guess you would call it. We have this POV, and then we have Dashy's POV, and let me know what you guys think after both of them. But Cloud9, they only got 1 day. Sib deliberately snaked that Lambo about 8 or 9 times, so it will be anyway. Let's take a peek, and we'll talk about it a little bit after.
You can do some analysis on this and you can figure out whether it officially breaks the rules or not, I think. Regardless of what you think, it's a bit of a grey area. The intent to use the mechanic for an advantage was there, but 2 pumps is allowed. So you are allowed to use this mechanic for the advantage as long as you don't overdo it. That's the way the pros have decided in the rules.
So obviously, it kind of just replays over and over again with Rab, Trey Zero, and Ace the Stocksman talking about it. Shout out Breaking Point Podcast, the dope chick. It's a great podcast to watch if you're wanting to review matches. But what do you guys think? Is that a snake? It has 3 pumps.
I think we really have to see Dashy's point of view because, like the second pump, you can't really tell if it's a full pump. But I think I saw Dashy's response to it, and I think he's right because it's not a CDL thing that's enforcing this rule. It's the COD members, right? So unless you have a camera on every single person in the map, you're never going to know if someone pumped unless the camera's on them. And so I think it happens a lot more than people think. And in this case, Dashy kind of got screwed because I don't think that's what he didn't even get a kill off this. So they didn't benefit from this at all. So
So I will, Casey. Did you watch this match at all? Did you see this one?
No, I didn't see this one.
So I just want to put it out there as well. Yes, he pumped 3 times. Sure, the second one, it was controversial as if he only crouched and didn't lay down, and he shot during the second one. So it makes it a little tough. We'll look at Dashy's POV right after this, but I do want to say the intention for snaking has to be called into question, and like Brent said, it's not a CDL enforced rule. It is a pro player within the 48 players that are in the league. It is a self-enforced GA, and that's a lot harder to regulate than a CDL rule. So Sib got 1 day. That guy deliberately plain as day snaked for intention of winning that P2 hill on the Hacienda on the Lambo. Clear as day. This, Thieves had the point. Dashy was fighting someone top cat. He wasn't even fighting the guy in this POV, bottom cat steps. It looks a lot different from Dashy's POV, and I will say when I have some background intel, if you would call it that, when this started being talked about in the GA chat, as soon as it got brought up, I think Attach brought it up, but on stream, Dashy was with Attach in the team speak. He just started dropping. Almost every AR in the league has a moment where they have a clip in scrims or in matches from Codcaster from their coach that they were snaking. And he sent all of them into the chat, and that's what saved them from a week ban of scrims. Got 1 day for it. It happens a lot, and Codcaster doesn't catch, or the spectator doesn't catch them all, because obviously the spectator's job is to focus on the fights and the important fights. There's a lot of people snaking right now. Has to be brought into question. GAs are kind of going out the window. We've already seen that with Shotzi's Twitter lately. I guess everybody in the league is back onto single tap and not using double tap to sprint. So GAs are kind of on the hinge right now. But here, let me pull up Dashy's POV here. Let me know what you guys think here. I'm going to run to the bathroom real quick, and we'll watch this one through. You guys can talk through it when it ends.
Yeah, looking at it from this, it doesn't look like it was a snake at all.
Yeah.
But I think some of the GA stuff is like, it's in the game, and if you can't stop it, it's kind of hard to regulate it. It just makes it that much harder. So the players trying to do it themselves is weird. If the league were doing it, there'd be so much reviews and so many people would probably be in trouble. I don't know how you go about making this better, but this kind of talk kind of just frustrates me when it comes to this. Like, this is the worst part of this game to me, is the GAs, and not just this game, but like COD in general. Just because it's in the game, I know you want to make it as competitive as possible, but I don't know how you regulate it for all and fair. I mean, you're just spending a lot of time on trying to regulate it.
Yeah, I mean, because from his point of view, it doesn't even look like he goes on the ground once, like fully lays down.
He goes
So-
on. He lays down. He does one full snake pump on the second one. But in this one,
Yeah.
in this POV right here, the spectator camera, it just glitches. It shows him laying down. It glitches. Because if you go from here, all three of those, his character laid down. If you look
And
at,
if you're on top plat, like on the other side, or top cat, excuse me, I mean, you can see him when he's crouching right here. Like, that guy could have saw him that entire time.
okay,
So it's only when he goes all the way down.
So all three pumps on POV from spectator from that Ghosty down there. It looks like Ghosty down there at bottom cat steps. All three pumps on POV that's a full on snake. On his, let's count them here. One, that's a crouch. That's that one. That split second.
Was that a crouch too?
No, that was so right there, or no. Back it up a little bit. Okay, so first one is a crouch. Right there. Okay, that was all three pumps. So there was one where his hand left his gun. That's the only time he laid down. The other two were crouches. So it definitely doesn't look like a snake from his POV. I agree with you guys.
I don't know. I feel like if you're top cat on the other side, you would be able to see him the majority of the time. So I don't know. Like you'd be able to pick his head off if you shot him, but from down below, I mean, you wouldn't be able to see him anyway. So I don't know.
And this is from their coach, JP. Obviously, JP Krez. This is from Codcaster. He has everybody's POV. He can switch through. From Dashy's POV, crouched once, laid down once, crouched again. Technically, is not a snake. And people are bringing up that top plat, that wall's wall bangable. They could have shot him through the wall, but I get the premise of trying to, if you're gonna enforce it against Sib, any snake from there on out has to be enforced the same way, which is their big argument right now. And even Shotzi came out on stream. Actually, that's our next clip. Shotzi came out on stream and can we pause? Like, what the fuck? He came out on stream and said that they got banned for 1 day from scrims. He came out and said it's the rules. You can't complain if this is what we're gonna run with. This is what we have to run with. It has to be fair for everybody. Optic should not get biased. They should not get any special treatment. I agree with what happened, but I also think that it's really a judgment call, and I don't like judgment calls. So we'll see. Let's listen to what Shotzi has to say about it here.
Oh shit! Yeah. Apparently we don't have a screen on. I think we have a 1 day ban because of the Brandon thing, which is kind of AIDS, but whatever. It is the rules, chat. Can't complain.
He says it's kind of AIDS, but whatever. It is the rules. What do you guys think?
Oh, with what Shotzi's saying right now, that was probably the most tame thing that we've seen. So respect it.
Yeah, the guy's been going rogue, so it's kind of respectable. Like the whole fucking DM in that. Casey, I know you can't. You really weren't caught up too much on this weekend and stuff going on, so understandable. But what's your opinion here? I know you kind of said you don't like it being up to the players. Do you have any other thoughts on the snaking ruling being dropped down on Optic here?
It happened. You move on. If it was a day, just I don't know. It's not a season-changing event, so I don't know. Not a huge fan of it, but it is what it is. It's what they agreed on.
Yeah, and that's kind of where I stand. Again, I kind of want to touch on that as well. We're gonna move through this episode a little bit quicker toward the tail end of it, but I do want to touch on it again. If they're gonna enforce it on one team, it has to be league-wide. Obviously, the first offense, I think it's stupid as all get out that people get offense ratings. I guess it's like people could just save their first offense for a major, and I think that's really stupid. But at the same time, if that's what you're gonna go with, you have to stick to it, no matter what team it is. You have to stick to it, or it's just. I don't mind what they did. I don't mind Optic losing a scrim day off of this. As an Optic fan, I am an Optic fan. I do think they should lose a scrim over it, just because from spectator POV, it looks like he snaked, and that's what they decided off of. So that's kind of where I stand on it. We will move on here and talk about the Kenny. Obviously, in my opinion, historical 1v2. I mean, this really shouldn't be possible. This is, if you guys didn't see the caption, a Quavo Kenny. He guys is up in round 11, 1v2 series of the year. This went down to a map 5, 2 for LA, 2 for Optic, and 11. Keep in mind, LA Thieves, they went up 5-1 in this last map. Optic brought it back to 5-5, went to round 11, and this is what happened. Let's watch it out. This is a minute and a half clip here. So watch what happens this whole round here.
About this one round. 2-man hit over towards B. Will Shotzzy spot them out? Possibly. Dashy, perfect read there on the nade. Here comes Hydra. Over the top. Can't get them both. The nade! Oh! Gets his own trade! And the Thieves have to back up.
Calculated. He meant to do that, just like Karachi of last year. Shotzzy's dialed in.
Thieves have had to hit the tactical retreat. They're making their way through the middle of the map. Dashy, he's coming over as well. So wait, we're not retreating. We've just backed up for a moment. It could be a battle in the lobby. We could be throwing hands.
And if you're LA Thieves, there's no shot you read this kind of pressure.
Kenny spots him out. Damage dealt. Here come the nades. And here comes the tactical retreat once again, but it's Dashy trying to pick up the pinch. Big Bruce, how many can you get? One! Trades are in! The battle continues, but it all comes down to Kenny! Kenny in the 1v2.
And they're coming, they're taking the fight to him. They're bringing this bomb over towards his site.
Here we go. There's one. Kenny! What a win! The comeback is complete. I don't believe what we've seen. The haters are in shambles. What an
Okay, so that's the round. I'll let you guys start on this one. Brent, let's go first here.
I love the shots you made. That's just one of the best things I've ever seen. Just toss it straight up. The only thing that would have been better is if he damaged both of them and it killed both of them. That would have been hilarious. But at the end, the 1v2, it was Hydra that went out first, right? He peaked first.
Yeah, Hydra went first. Yeah.
I know you can't. I mean, maybe you can, but in that situation, I'd have Envoy go out first, and then Hydra finishes out. I think Envoy had bomb, but still, I mean, you got to have your best player behind, right? You can't have him just push forward. I don't know.
Okay.
I think they misplayed that.
Before you go, I want to follow up on Brent's point there. Right? So, in my opinion, it doesn't matter who goes first. It has to be coordinated. There's no reason, like, you could give 100 out of 100 scenarios. There's no reason at all, if we look back at this. Why is Hydra sliding out into the hallway before Envoy can even get to the corner for a trade?
No, yeah. That makes no sense.
Go ahead and take a look at this. Hydra slides out before Envoy even gets there.
Yeah, I guess they'd have to read Kenny was there, which was, I don't know if you would be able to. But
I mean, either way, even if he's not there, you have to. They have 17 seconds left on the clock before they have to plant. You have to chow everything together. There is no world or universe that Hydra should slide out without calling a 2-3, like a 3-2-1 call out, like 3-2-1 slide with me, or like 3-2-1 I'll slide far, or like I'll like long slide you chow corner. There's no world where that shouldn't be happening. That is just a complete breakdown from Hydra and Envoy together at the same time. And don't get me wrong, Kenny's on 2 HP from Hydra shooting at him. There's no way in shit Envoy shouldn't have traded him. But at the same time, you got to be more coordinated than that.
I was gonna say that. I mean, if we're looking at Envoy here, this looks like me playing ranked. He's caught sprinting when he shouldn't be. Like,
And they're taking the fight to him.
he's trying to push Kenny probably to get him away from healing there.
And yeah, that's exactly it. People are saying, so this is pretty much a perfect screenshot, actually. Hydra chows out middle hallway for no reason without Envoy. So, yes, Hydra, very capable of winning a 1v1, but he doesn't. Gets him down to 2 HP. Here we go. Actually, Envoy shoots him a little bit. 2 HP right here. That wall is wall bangable, It's also you could jump up. You can jump once and just start pre-firing. People are saying Envoy thought that maybe Kenny had got like slid around the corner, like he had got around the other, like the 90 to the other hallway. Even if he did, why would Envoy chow towards him instead of chowing straight to B-bomb? Because if you look at the time, it's only 14.7 seconds left on the clock. They have to plant because obviously Kenny's smart enough. He's just going to run away if he was to get out. But he wasn't able to get out. I think this purely comes down to no strategy and no coordination from the Thieves. I think Hydra and Envoy both choked this kill right here. I think they lost. Obviously, it's hard to say they lost the map for this. They went up 5-1, 6 rounds straight. So it is tough. Shotzzy started 2-6 in this map, ended 10-7. The only round he died was that last one where they double chowed him and he got his self-nade. And I think, like Brent said, we have to talk about that a little more. Do we think that was calculated?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I don't think he thought he was dying, but I mean, that was just nasty. Dude.
Casey, you see that self-nade? You want to see it one more time?
I kind of missed it. I didn't really see it. I thought that he got killed as he was throwing it.
No.
Here it is.
Two-man hit over towards B. Will Shotzzy spot them out? Possibly. Dashy, perfect read there on the nade. Here comes Hydra.
Oh,
Over the top.
what the?
Can't get them both.
I think he was trying to. I think he was trying to get it over the wall, wasn't he? Like on the other side.
I think, in my opinion, it's hard to tell here because they switched to Shotzzy late.
He spot them out, possibly.
I think Shotzzy saw a name tag through this slit right here, because you can see name tags through that little slit and the far right one. I think he saw that one, and I legitimately think he naded himself there because he thought 2 of them were. I think this was completely calculated, and Shotzzy himself came out on stream. Obviously, it's like whoever word you're gonna take, but like he said that was completely calculated. He meant to nade right at his feet, right?
It's just weird. Why wouldn't you just throw it at the wall and bounce back instead of trying to throw it straight up like that? I don't.
Well, because because if you throw it at the wall, they're not gonna push up. They're not gonna slide into it. They're gonna see the indicator and they're gonna wait. Like they're gonna push. He throws it straight up. They slide into him. Both of them slide into him right, like he predicted. That grenade gets at least one trade because he gets at least one of them. You know, obviously, like Brent said, ideal situation. He gets both of them weak. They both die, but he was only able to hit one.
I think it just looks so weird. It looks like he knows the 2 of them are over there and he's just trying to lob it perfectly over the wall and didn't. But
yeah, I think that just gets overshadowed by Kenny's unwinnable one. I think that was that fueled the fire for a lot of Optic fans. A lot of shit to be talked to Thieves fans, especially built this team Optic at this point. Yeah, I think this series, a lot of storylines were created. Obviously, Scrap went 6-19, 700 damage in map 1. So it was another storyline. So that's kind of what we have for. I think that's all we have for the Optic series. Oh, we have a Kenny post-game interview as well. Let's listen to that real quick, and we can talk a little bit more to close.
7 in a row. I kind of want to hear about your responsibilities in Search and Destroy, especially with Hook joining and the changes with the team, because you guys have gone on like some runs, good and bad, right? Like you start off a little slow, you win 7 in a row, you lose 5 then you win this. What's going on in Search and how are you trying to figure it out?
I think the main thing for me in Search is kind of like trying not to do the same thing every round and kind of like switch it up a lot. Obviously being one of the main communicators on the team, it's like trying to, I guess, get as much info early in the round so that I can communicate and kind of like get a grasp on what the other team's doing. So I feel like that's really my role, is like taking these early chows, or getting this early info on like this certain bomb site so that we know like how many people are there, who's there. And like I said, as being like the main communicators, kind of just my main job is kind of like direct the traffic and direct like where we should be going with the bomb and stuff. So
And then when it's time to clutch, you clutch.
oh yeah.
Was there any doubt in that final round? Did you have a little bit of fear knowing that there were 2 left?
Once I kind of heard that there was 2 subs left, I heard where they were. I laid down in the top hallway because I kind of figured like, oh, they wouldn't go A just because based off sub. Like I don't know. For me, I just predicted they're gonna be. I almost had like the worst timing, but when I killed the first guy, I kind of thought the other guy went deep left Lambo, and so that's why I got up and got like bad timing on him. But I definitely wasn't like worried about the 1v2. I thought the 1v2 was like gonna come down to gunfight anyways. I knew they were coming to me, so I was just expecting them to be in front of me.
Kenny, we got about a week left before we head to Spain. What are you looking forward to most in Madrid for Major number 1?
So that's when he talks about the round. He obviously wasn't expecting Envoy to immediately chow after Hydra. He still ended up getting the. That's pretty impressive. Obviously, Kenny's one of the more icier players we've had ever. The most winningest player in the CDL era, like active right now. I think Priest is second. But Kenny, the guy knows how to win. He knows how to win games. He knows how to win tournaments. He knows how to win fucking trophies. He knows what he's doing. I think that 1v2 was. It fell into his lap a little bit, but also he played it really well. If you just look back at it, really the only way he had winning that round. Super impressive out of Kenny. Good work out of Kenny. It gave Optic the win over Thieves, which is a huge win for Optic. It held Thieves behind them still in the major standings. Big win out of Optic. Let's move on here, unless you guys have any final thoughts about Optic here.
No. Yeah, I mean, you nailed it. It was a big win for Major 1. Big win for them.
Yeah, and I think it's a big win for not just. I think it's a big win for Kenny's teammates to have confidence in him to be able to win something like that. So a little more faith in the search and destroys on him, maybe.
Yeah, because it's hard to ignore. Kenny has been the weak link, struggled this year. It's good to see Kenny pull that one out for the team. Yeah, I think Optic is very happy with what happened. Obviously, they lost a day of scrims because they actually did it on map 4, but they obviously got the win in map 4. So at some point, it's worth it. Whether he's
just start snaking everyone.
Whether he snaked or not. But we'll move on. This was actually the series before Optic. I kind of have it out of order, I guess, but just a little. Obviously, pull it up a little bit. Toronto goes to 6-0 in the major standings. Yes, they lost in the majors, as Brent said earlier. They are 6-0. They are in first place, the only undefeated qualifiers. Corellos, they'll be in losers. They are 1-5. But if we take a look, LAG's control, their control looks really good. They've done it on Vault. They've done it on Hacienda now against good teams. They look really good. Their hard point doesn't look as good. Search, obviously. 6-1 and 6-0. So, looking a little rough. We talked about all these teams earlier, so we'll go over it. But, yeah, Toronto moves to 6-0. They're first in the major standings right now. That's something to point out.
And being good at control is the worst thing you can be good at.
Yep.
So.
And yep, that's how I think as well. We will
Drowsy in the way.
We'll move over to a FaZe Rocker series, which was right after the Optic series, which is a hard series to follow, especially with the ending. This one got a lot less hype. But we'll watch it. We'll watch some clips. I think I only have 2. I actually might only have 1. I think I might have the score second tab. But we'll look at this one. FaZe, they got 2v4'd by Estrella and Nero in Hardpoint. Watch that real quick.
Because look at those spawns starting to flip. They are playing ahead. Atlanta FaZe got to chalk this one up and just go to new.
This has been the first time we've seen one of our two teams be able to try to string together 2 to 3. Drazah in the way, able to deal with the Furs, trying to stop Estriel in his tracks. Not going to happen, but Atlanta will run from well, backside fences, and get Simp into 10. aBeZy holding from the front, but look at the numbers for Rocker. Quickly in from the front, but aBeZy, he's able to find 2 with a nade over the top. Now it's just down to Simp do his job. He's found the first. More still on the way. They know Paul's up top, and Drazah's on the hunt.
You got to keep in mind, too, that Cellium still has that Hellstorm in the back pocket. But you don't want to catch bad timing, calling that in or investing it, and not allowing a trade to be there. 2v2 is the trade. 5 for Atlanta FaZe have flipped the switch. That's 3 dead. Make it all 4. Spawns have flipped. They can win the now.
230 to 241. Minnesota trying to stretch around the back. No one has any
Repitch.
idea that Nero has played through bottom bar. He's going to catch Cellium by surprise. Now that you also have Estriel from the front, because of course he is. The SMGs from Minnesota able to jump into contest. The nades over the top are going to work out. Just aBeZy standing in their way. Paul able to find the kill. Last 4 seconds. Estriel finds the kill onto Drazah, and Minnesota somehow, someway.
So took a little bit to get to Estriel and Nero take over there on P3. But I will say, I'll go ahead and go back to right here at full screen of without playing. Scoreboard. They need some help. You know what I mean? The sub duo was doing their thing. They won this map somehow. Yeah, Estriel and Nero are... those are their guys. Geo had a rough map. See Paul. What are you guys?
What is Simp doing with only 39 engagements? What?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, he was pissing me off this game. I'll tell you that.
Oh, that's weird. That's why Rocker was probably able to hang on there. Or, well, I mean, FaZe could have won that late, being down, what, 50 on that last one, and then coming back, so.
And you have to think they... I haven't done the math, but you'd have to think they outslayed them by a good amount. Given their ARs, Rocker, you got 26 combined. I don't know.
Yeah.
So it's a rough go. But Rocker obviously take that map. Estriel and Nero take over. That was the only map that they won. But yeah, FaZe looks really good. Rocker, AR's got to figure it out, and we already touched. Alex had a stinker of a year. Very inconsistent. If Geo can find consistency, and in my opinion, Rocker changes from Paulex, I think that's good. Kind of interesting to look at. We have a box. Red car search 6. They also control 03, and then they got kind of slammed in the red card. Estriel saving them from the red carpet. 1.06. Nero had a good first map. Struggled a lot the rest of the series. Had dropped to 0.9. We obviously have to point all X. 0.58, negative 35. It's a rough one, but as we already said as well, Cellium very much improved and is playing a lot faster. The most engagements in the lobby and most damage and the most kills in the lobby.
Most engagements is crazy when you got aBeZy on the team.
Yeah. No, yeah. So he's definitely working on his play style, and I think the more he works on it, the better. Looking good for FaZe. Both the ARs dropped the highest KD, so and most damage. Looking good. I think that's about all I have, or all we have for this week's episode. We will be able to do another episode after next week, which is the weekend before the major, and then we'll cover the major as well. Stay tuned for that. Do you guys have anything else to close with? Are you guys excited about anything, or have anything to say about any of the teams?
Just think we need to see the first LAN event, and then we'll know more. So.
Yep, a bit of a longer episode. We had to catch up on stuff, so I think when we get back to regular programming, it'll be a little bit smoother, and we can go over more matches individually and preview weeks ahead. So yeah, should be good moving forward.
Yeah, I'm excited to keep doing it. I all love competitive COD. If you guys tuned in for this one, I appreciate you guys. Especially if you made it this long. If you're over the age of 18, I can do things to you, but thank you. And
What a way to end it.
Make sure to tune into next week, because next week's gonna be a banger, and we have some. We'll see you guys then, and thank you guys for supporting the Rewind.